Did you know there's a number that decides whether your business quietly grows or quietly dies? And almost nobody is actually looking at it. It isn't your revenue, it isn't your ad spend, it isn't anything on the dashboard you check every single morning. It's what happens to your money in the gap between the moment you spend it and the moment it comes back as a sale. I've spent 7 years on both sides of this. I run a lead gen agency that's bought leads from dozens of different vendors and sold to brands, some publicly traded. I built call centers with 100+ seats. And I can tell you the thing nobody in the industry admits out loud. Even doing all of that at real scale, the second a lead left my hand, I had no idea what happened to it. Did anyone call it? Did it book? Did it close for 5 grand, 50 grand, or nothing? I was guessing, my clients were guessing, so we'd argue. They'd say my leads were garbage, I'd say their team wasn't working them. And neither of us could prove a thing because neither of us could see the same picture. That blindness is the most expensive problem in business. And it has nothing to do with how good your product is or how much you spend. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact thing that finally fixed it for me. Let's get into it. So what's the actual gap I'm talking about? A lead gets generated, then it gets handed off to a different department or a different company entirely in a different system where it gets worked until it becomes a sale or a disqualification. Everything that happens after that handoff has a name in this industry, the disposition. And here's the problem. The disposition, the source information, how the lead was actually generated, and whether it closed, live in different systems, owned by different people in different departments. There's typically no way to see that data all together. So nobody owns the entire path. And if nobody owns the path, nobody can optimize it. Walk through it with me. A lead comes in off an ad platform. That's one data set. It hits a funnel. That's another. Then a dialer. How many times did we call? Did they answer? Are they interested? Then it lands into CRM. If those systems don't talk to each other, how do you know why someone didn't become a sale? Was the ad misleading? Was the follow-up too slow? Did the sales team drop the ball? Who knows? You're guessing. And you might not think that's a huge deal, but I'll tell you, it's actually what almost broke me. You see, when I first started in business, we got super lucky. We got picked up by a publicly traded company in our first couple of years. That one client eventually became about 70% of our revenue. And the funny thing is we were the best partner they had until we weren't. We had 6-month agreements, and every cycle they'd send us disposition reports. Clunky, not perfect, but real insights into how we were performing. Until we hit 2 months before the renegotiation. Then for whatever reason, the reports changed. And we went from being the best to we have to decide if we're actually gonna keep you guys on. So we'd renegotiate and basically negotiate against ourselves to give them a better deal. And the moment the ink was signed, them knowing we were a small marketing shop and that they were a publicly traded company, went right back to being the best again. It was actually pretty funny, especially because I let it happen 6 cycles in a row. But what that taught me is a lesson that everything I do now is built on. Whoever can see the gap, whoever can own the gap, and whoever can act on the gap wins the whole game. And here's the part most people miss. When the gap is visible, both sides win. I'm gonna walk you through exactly why. Because when the gap is invisible, you only optimize against the metrics you can actually see, vanity metrics. And that quietly destroys your profit and your revenue. So what's the vanity metric I'm talking about? When you can only see the front half of the journey, it's typically cost per lead because that's typically the only number you've got. You optimize for cheap, you scale cheap, and you kill expensive, and I get it. With that data, I do the same thing. It feels like good math, but I watch it every single day, and it's the reason companies lose money and cannot scale. You might be saying, Jackson, why is that? A cheap cost per lead can hide a brutal cost per sale, and cheap leads drag in a pile of soft costs, the stuff that never gets calculated into the hard numbers of what it actually costs to get an appointment or a sale. Let me give you 2 quick examples. Example 1, you're running a Facebook campaign and a Google campaign. Facebook leads cost you $10. Google leads cost you $50. Every instinct says scale Facebook, but when you back out the disposition data and look down the line, you find it takes 100 Facebook leads to make 1 sale and only 10 Google leads. Do the math. That's a $1,000 cost per sale on Facebook and a $500 on Google. The lead that's 5 times more expensive is actually half the price where it counts. That's the number you need to be able to see. Example 2, soft costs. Same 2 campaigns, both $10 a lead. Both have the same number of leads to close. They look identical on the dashboard, but one takes 100 dials, 3 meetings, and 4 months to close. The other takes 10 dials, 1 meeting, and 2 weeks. That difference, the payroll, the airtime, the phone numbers, those are soft costs. Same cost per lead on paper, completely different businesses in real life. So here's how you think about it. Cost per lead measures how cheap it is to get someone to fill out their information. That's it. It carries a little intent and a little qualification, but it tells you nothing about money. Revenue per lead measures how much money each lead actually makes you. And the cheapest cost per lead and the highest revenue per lead are almost never the same source. So if cost per lead is your business's headline metric, you're not just optimizing towards the wrong thing. You're optimizing your business to get worse. There's an old story about a man searching for his keys under a streetlight, not because he dropped them there, but because that's where the light is. Cost per lead is the streetlight. It's bright, it's easy, and you can already see it. The keys are your revenue and profit, and they're not under that light. Want to see what happens when a big company optimizes under that streetlight? I consulted for a company that had just been acquired by a publicly traded brand. You probably know them. They wanted to tear down their entire acquisition channel and rebuild it around cheap data. They were convinced it was going to cut their cost per sale, and they hired some expensive advisors. I advised against it. They did it anyway. First month, their cost per sale dropped in half, and my consulting suddenly was in jeopardy. Then month 2 hit. Their dialing system was destroyed. They got flagged by all the carriers. They lost more than 75% of their calling staff, and replacing that capacity cost 3 times what the original team did. It took 6 months to rebuild that system back to what it was before they touched it. That was an 8-figure mistake by a massive company because they optimized towards the vanity metric instead of the metrics that matter. So here's the highest leverage change you can make in your business right now. Stop grading on cost per lead and start seeing your true cost per sale and every metric that builds up to it from every system you run. It's literally why I built our company Attribute. It connects your ads, it connects your CRM, it connects your dialer, so you see one journey on one screen. Ad to lead to call to sale for every source you've got, so you could finally optimize towards the right goals for your own business and your own numbers. If you want that clarity for yourself, there's a link below to book a quick walkthrough. No commitment, you'll just see the actual picture you've been missing. Now, let's settle the oldest fight in industry. Is it the ads or is it the team? The buyer says the leads suck, the seller says your team can't close, marketing head says the sources are good, the sales force says the leads are trash. And the argument is unwinnable because nobody can see the whole data set. But once you can see the full customer journey, every source, every department, every system, the answers usually become pretty obvious. Lots of wrong numbers, dead contacts, people who thought something was free when it's not. It's probably the source. Low booking rate, but your callback time is 45 minutes, it's probably your inside sales. And here's how subtle this gets. At one company I consulted for, everyone agreed one of their sources had gone bad. The marketing head, the head of sales, purchasing, even the CFO. They were this close to cutting it. Then we pulled all the numbers into one place and saw exactly what was happening. A new dialer admin had changed the settings for that one source. He routed those leads into a long-term nurture. So leads that used to get called 3 times a day were now getting called once a week. They fixed one setting. The source went right back to being one of their best sources. That's the trap when your data lives in separate systems. Seeing 2 things happen together tells you nothing about which one caused the other. You treat the symptom and you blame the wrong suspect. The whole game is separating signal from noise. And you can't do that when your systems don't talk to each other. Because here's what happens when you guess, or worse, when you're confident with only half the picture. You fire a source that was actually fine, while the broken process keeps bleeding you money. And you don't just lose cash, you lose a relationship, a partner who's hard to replace. I've been on both ends of that. Back a year ago in my agency, someone came to us, offered to pay us 30% more for every single lead, and said that they would buy every lead that we could generate. So we cut volume to loyal partners who'd bought from us consistently for years. And yeah, for a month or 2, we made a ton more money. Then that new buyer flamed out. They always do. And our loyal partnerships were never the same. We chased the woman in the red dress, and it cost us way more than it made us. And that's why, when both sides can finally see the same data, something bigger than a settled argument happens. The whole relationship changes. One scorecard everyone can read and get behind. one source of truth. Because here's what nobody talks about. People have different definitions for the same words between companies, between systems, between departments. Marketing's definition of qualified lead: filled out the form, didn't get disqualified. Sales definition: high intent, purchasing power, credentials the form didn't even ask for. And if those two departments inside one company can't agree on a definition, imagine two different companies or two different systems. That's where the real fight breaks out. The fix is one shared language underneath the data. And math is a universal language. Put every lead on the same exact path. You lead to close sale across every system, every department, every partner. Now, any department, any system speaks the same language. Everything gets compared apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. That's why in our system, and anyone that I consult for, I always say the same thing. Establish a standard path that every lead goes through, so you can see where people drop off, what actually drives the next conversion, and how everyone measures uniformly in the same language. Now, I won't pretend that's easy. This industry's whole culture practically runs on hiding data from the other side, because if you can't see, you can never take the blame. But when both sides, marketing and sales, vendor and buyer, see the same numbers and the same data, the blame has nowhere to live. It stops being two sides trying to get one over on each other. It becomes a collaboration. Your leads are bad becomes these leads weren't touched for 3 days. How do we fix the calling cadence? How do we adjust those sources? And a shared truth, unlike what most people think, leads to both sides getting what they actually wanted the whole time. Better results, more revenue, more profit, a better partnership. Here's what that looks like. A marketing agency like mine walks into a renewal call. Instead of saying, hey, here's your cost per lead, we got it down $5 this month. It's, hey, last month, we made you an additional $30,000 in revenue. Much different conversation. Or marketing walks into the CFO's office and says, we found an issue between our sources and our dialer, fixed it, and increased profit 20% last quarter. Totally different conversation than we bought more leads at a cheaper price. And the kind of stuff this surfaces is wild. A source might look just okay from a high level, but when you dive in, you find their leads in New York have an awesome revenue per lead, and their leads in Texas are absolutely terrible. The average is a liar, so you don't cut the source. You scale down Texas, scale New York up. And now that okay source is one of your best performers with one of the highest revenue per lead. And when you apply that between a third-party seller and a third-party buyer, that's how you take the average relationship in this industry, which is about 3 months, and move it to 12 months or more, which is what relationships that go through our platform typically last. Now, zoom out with me for a second, because this is about to be more important than your revenue today. From here on out, storing this data, owning this data, and being able to actually use it is going to be the most important thing in your business, because proprietary data in an age of AI is the only thing that will not get commoditized. Think about the market we're walking into. Your competitors, or if you sell leads, your own clients can have an AI run campaigns, write the ads, build the creatives, run the media buying on Facebook and Google. Every part of the marketing, sales, and follow-up chain is getting commoditized. The only thing AI cannot commoditize is the data it's trained on. And the better the data, the better it does the work. So your competitive advantage lies entirely in the data you start accumulating now. Whether you're a seller to a client, a marketing head, or a company running in 5 different systems. Normalized, standardized data is the only thing that keeps you in the driver's seat when everything else is getting commoditized. And the only way to get it is to connect all of your systems between companies, between departments, between partnerships into one record with as much data in a cleanest format as possible. Now, if you're still watching, here's my bet, and it applies to 90% of you. You never had a lead problem. You had a data ownership problem, a data cleanliness problem, a data aggregation problem. When things get tough, the default answer is to buy more leads, buy more tools. But here's the pattern I see every single day. If you don't own one clean record where your departments, your money, your data are all talking to each other, you make wrong decisions on limited data. That's costing you money right now, and it means you will walk into the AI wave with nothing proprietary to your name. Take the keys I just gave you and implement them, and get both. You stop guessing today, and you set yourself up for the next decade, because that invisible thing I just told you about at the start, the gap between the click and the sale, that's where money is made. It's where companies scale, and it's where companies fail. It's where all of your optimization should be happening, because it's the only place the truth lies. The gap is literally where your company either compounds or bleeds out. And now you know what numbers you should be looking at and how to get them. Because once you have those numbers, the decisions honestly aren't difficult. Getting the numbers, cleaning them, and putting them in the right format from all your different systems that are all arguing with each other, that's the difficult part. And I eat my own cooking. My company Greenrot runs on this every single day. Our own internal systems and with our clients. They send us dispositions, we share our sources, and we optimize together towards revenue per lead, finding exactly where that gap is bleeding money on either side, and fixing it with data instead of opinions. Companies that focus on the gap over the next 10 years are the companies that are going to survive. Stop grading yourself on what's easy to see. Start grading yourself on what is actually true. The winners are the ones with the clearest picture of what their money actually does. Quick gut check before you go. Comment below, do you actually know your cost per sale by source? Not your cost per lead, your cost per sale. Be honest. And if this made sense, the next video that you should watch is right here.